everyone, Elite 4Yo here. Let's do an update on the big 151 movement that we have seen over the last week, although really it's kind of been extending far before that, right? When the first news hit about this reprint, restock, whatever it is. So let's just jump right into it here, looking at where we stand on April 22nd. And just scrolling down here, I am on Sneaker Dunk. Again, that's just the Japanese marketplace. Pretty good way to kind of map out sales and just to kind of give you a good idea of what we're seeing here. Well, this right here on about the 18th, give or take, that is when we saw the price drop down. So originally it was believed that this reprint restock was coming in May, and whether it has actually hit yet or not hasn't even still been confirmed. Some retailers and suppliers are suggesting that it hasn't hit yet, that we are still waiting for it to come in May, and that this is like back inventory that had been sitting at retailers and distributors that is being put back onto the market before the actual reprint launches. Whether that's true or not, no one can confirm. So no one has that information, but let's just see what has happened over the last few days. So looking here at about April 18th, so about 4 days ago, and just over this 3 to 4 day span, that is when the big movement occurred, that the price dropped really significantly. And especially significant in terms of where it had been sitting. So if I change this to the last month on here, and we just take a look at where it was a month ago, sitting comfortably around this sub 19,000 yen, let's call it about 15,000 yen mark. So I'm going to put it in here so you can see what that is. So again, this is on Sneaker Dunk. This is not taking into account for any fees, shipping, customs, etc. But about a month ago, it was sitting at that $96, $97 range. Pretty consistently, it was trending downward as time went on, until we got to where we were the last few days on here, sitting at sub 9,000 yen. So if I do this graph, I change it to the last few days just to get us an even better look. We'll take a rough average of where it sat at its lowest point. So we'll say something like sub 9,000 yen. We'll say 8,500 yen. So around $54, $55 a box on Sneaker Dunk. So $55 here. A month ago, it was significantly higher. Again, just going to where it was here, $55, compared to where it sat quite higher at twice that. So why this has actually happened, there are so many different theories out there. Nothing is proven. No one knows for sure. I've seen people in the know suggest one thing, and then other people who are supposedly in the know suggest the complete opposite thing, which is to say that no one knows, whether this is back inventory that was put back on the shelves temporarily from different retailers and distributors, not Pokemon itself. And the reason I say that is because Pokemon stores in Japan do seem to now be selling the product in retail, whereas over the last few days, this was seemingly coming mostly from other distributors and retailers, not from Pokemon directly. So with that in mind, could this have been these retailers dropping their stock because they are seeing the reprint coming in the next few weeks, or if the reprint has just dropped as soon as today, because that's what I'm seeing online? Could be. But I think what people might be more interested in is, will this action, this price action on here, I'm gonna go back to it, is this dip, this sub 10,000 yen dip, so let's just go back to 10,000 yen. So about $64, $65, we'll call it $65. Was this it? Was this the drop and that's it? That's kind of the question that everyone wants to talk about. And so let's talk about that right now. And if it is, and I'm not saying it is, but if it was, then it lasted about 3 days where you had your window to get in when prices were under the 10,000 yen mark. So realistically, if you were able to get a box, and again, this is not counting shipping, but if you were able to get a box for under $65, not a box, I would, because realistically, that's not how the shipping works, right? You need to average out your cost by buying more boxes to lower the price. So you couldn't buy a box from Sneaker Dunk or maybe some other avenues for $65. The shipping would probably be $20 to $30. So why do I say that number? Because if I hop here onto eBay, and I'm going to go to this one first, that's pretty much the eBay going rate right now. Now, if you look on eBay, keep this in mind. There is a big difference between sealed and non-sealed product. If people are buying the sealed product from the Pokemon stores in Japan directly, my understanding is they do remove the shrink wrap. And of course, removing the shrink wrap is going to significantly lower the price, even though the box is still technically untampered because it still has a seal on the side that you have to peel off. It's like a paper thing you have to strip off. But still, this right here, this price, $97, $98, I'm just looking at these two because this is the lowest that I saw, is like about the going rate on eBay right now with free shipping if it's shrink wrapped. Going here, about $82 is about $15 less, and that's without shrink wrap. So keep that in mind. If you're buying it on Sneaker Dunk, you have to keep that in mind as well, whether or not it's shrink wrapped or not. That's just something I wanted to add in for reference. But to go back to our question here, this 3-day span of $65 or less, and especially if you got it here, like take a look at this one, 8,000 yen. Let's just say you were able to get it at its absolute lowest, 8,000 yen, $52. I mean, that is like a must buy, I would think. I'm not saying you must buy it, but for someone who has the capital and wants to, that would be like a must buy, I would imagine, because that price point, $52, is barely over retail. And if the retail price is around $40, I mean, that's like nothing, right? That's a very minimal markup, 20%. So let's just get back to our main focus here. Is the dip here over? Is this it? Because look at where the prices stand now. If I scroll back up here, we're at 13,500. I'm going to plug this into our converter. 13,500. We're at $87 now. I'm not going to compare it to the 50 somewhat dollars at the 8,000 yen because that was such a minimal window. But let's just compare it to the 10,000. So again, I'll put in 10,000. So $64. It's about $20 difference, $25 difference. So is that window gone? Is that it? Have we missed it? I bought in, and this is my situation because I mentioned this in the last video, that I was buying in about 5-6 boxes between $400 and $500. That's what I was looking for, and I was able to get 5 boxes for $385. That's after all fees. So that was approximately, I think it was $77 a box after fees. So I thought that was pretty good. It's not as good as other people are getting, but I think that comfortably, if you could have gotten after all fees $80 or less a box, I think that's pretty good. Obviously, if you can get it under $60 after fees, that's incredible. And if anyone was able to snag it like right here at that 8,000 yen, $50, $52 window, wow. Making out like a bandit, I think. But that was my approach. I just wanted to get like half a case, because a case is 12 boxes. So if you got a full case, and you were able to average that like $60 or under, that's also probably a really good amount. But getting back to the question here, is the window past? I mean, now that the prices have recovered, we'll talk about some reasons why. Well, first of all, one of the big things that has happened is that a lot of retailers are canceling orders for a variety of reasons. If you go online, you're probably seeing this all over, that stock is being canceled for abroad orders for any variety of reasons, maybe because the retailers are seeing that the price has shot back up because the demand was so much higher than they even anticipated, that in trying to sell off the inventory they had, they didn't anticipate that like it would not caused the price to immediately reverberate upwards because everyone wanted the product. Whether it's to open, probably to keep it as an investment, but whatever the case is, the price rebounding and people canceling orders, not people, retailers, distributors, sellers canceling orders is probably indicative of that. That supply and demand are like, I don't know. It's amazing if you think about it. Like, if all the prices dropped significantly here, right, over these 3-4 days, and the prices go down, 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 then yeah, naturally demand is going to increase because people are going to want the product. But I think that even the retailers didn't expect it to be so overwhelmingly high in demand that maybe they didn't need to drop the prices as much. Maybe it was reactionary to the reprint news still in effect, still coming, or collectively all retailers dropping their prices at once to try to beat each other. Basically didn't need to happen because all of the available stock was wiped out, right? That's why the price is sitting at 13,500 yen. I'll plug that back in there. Should be like 80 something, right? Yeah, $87. Because if the supply was meeting demand, then that wouldn't happen. But because it's already shot back up, it just shows you that demand is so crazy high for this. This is such a huge product that the increased supply couldn't even meet it. It couldn't meet it. Retailers had to cancel orders. Prices shot back up as retailers realized that, hey, I don't need to shortchange the inventory, even if the reprint is here or is still coming, and even if it's a restock or not. And I talked about that last video as well. So this is kind of wild. So this is all basically for me to say that, to answer the question here, is this window where it dropped below 10,000 yen for a few days and now has shot back up, is that it? Is it only going to increase from here? I mean, again, no one knows, but it's possible. In theory, I guess it's possible that this could have been the dip and that it just reverberates and goes the opposite way, and that the price continues to rise. That could happen. Or it goes the exact other way, because now that the reprint seems to have hit in some regards, or back inventory is being put back on shelves in both official Pokemon stores and otherwise, and supply is going to continue to increase as we get closer to May, and then into May, once we actually see if the reprint and restock hits, then this pattern here, this trend where it was stabilizing but going down slowly and then just dropped and now has recovered, could repeat. It could repeat. Right? Let's take a look. Let's go back 3 months. 3 months here. So it's important because people are still asking, excuse me, people are still wondering, like, why is this product in such demand? Like, what is it so special about it? Obviously the Master Ball reverses, obviously nostalgia factor, etc. But we cannot forget where prices sat 3 months ago. I mean, look at this, everyone. 21,000 plus yen. Let's call it 22,000 yen. 142 a box before fees, compared to where it literally just like died at, we'll call it 9,000 yen, just for an average, at 9,000 yen, $58, right? I mean, that's almost a third the price in 3 months. There are people online, and I've seen some of the comments too, in my own videos, people are saying, oh, this isn't good. It's gonna completely bottom out. You could take the chance that it'll bottom out, and in thinking that as we get closer to May and into May and beyond, that the price could go even lower than the $50 to $60 at its absolute lowest point. Could that repeat? Could it not repeat? Will it only go back up? You can certainly take a chance. I didn't. Now, I did not get in when the price was this low, because I felt comfortable at that $75 to $80 after fees range. I felt like that was an appropriate price, because that's about twice retail, and that seemed like a fair buy-in price. But you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do now? If you have been holding off because you're thinking, I'm gonna just ride this out until it is so cratered down that it's like retail prices, at $40 average. Is that really going to happen? I mean, think about what I said earlier. The reason the price has jumped up could be a variety of reasons. So I can analyze that forever, but factually, yeah, the price has jumped back up. I mean, now again, we're at 13,500 and climbing, right? Look at the graph down here. We're climbing. This isn't stabilizing and staying the same. This is climbing. So if you think, okay, well, that's just a temporary trend as prices settle out, retailers figure out inventory, whatever, that could be the case. But if you're still waiting, you're better than I am. You're really trying to get in at the absolute lowest point, which is great. You're welcome to do that. But if you're still holding, or if you bought in here at this window, that's great. If you're looking to invest more, then if you already were able to buy like under $80 a box after fees, then you're probably sitting in a pretty good position, because now you can just wait, right? You can just wait and see what happens. If it dips back down to under or around 8,000 yen, that's that like $50 range, then awesome, right? Then that's a great move. But if you've already secured your boxes, some of you are securing cases, and you were able to get that in that like 75 or under range, that's awesome. If you were to get a case for that, case is 16 boxes again, then yeah, that's even better. So a lot of volatility. That's another big thing when you're trying to purchase the product. You have to be mindful of the volatility, because what's happening is some people are buying it at a certain price, and then like by the time it ships, the price is completely different, and they're looking for like a price adjustment. Good luck with that. Although I have seen some shops do that, specifically more like US based shops that are importing might be willing to do that if the cost adjustment obviously is significant enough. So that is another factor to kind of keep in mind as you are watching the market here. And if you're attempting to time the market, then again, you're really focused on this blip, everything from the 18th to the 21st, those 3 days. Is that a blip? Is that just let's just see what happens here? Or did you buy in, or did you wait, or are you waiting? Are you waiting to go back down? Everyone online and everyone I talk to, suppliers and otherwise, have different ideas about what is happening with the market right here. But I always say this, it's so fascinating to watch. Just my advice is to be comfortable with your investment. If the supply is so significant that it did or is or will drop the price significantly down, and I'm talking like sub $60, sub $50 range, where like even the realtors are barely making profit by reselling, then you have to expect that the price might take a while to appreciate. Longer than I think people were expecting, and certainly longer than, say, the people who bought in 3 months ago when they were buying it for 22,000 yen a box. In any case, that's kind of what's happening here. So I wanted to do like another overview on this. A lot of different things at play. Canceled orders, huge supply increase followed by huge demand, a bigger demand increase, causing supply to dwindle, causing prices to rocket back up. This volatility going like this, up and down, up and down, is pretty wild to see. So right now we're just waiting. We're waiting to see what is going to happen, because it's stabilized. If I go here to the last month trend, it is hit. If it's sitting right now at like 13,500 yen, and I'll plug that back in here just so you have that reference point. So $87. Well, it's basically hit back to where it was before the blip, the cratering here. I'll call it the cratering. So, right, like if you look over the first 2 weeks of April, it was just sitting around that average 13,000, around 14,000 yen, $85 to $100, and that's before fees. And it seems like it's recovering back there. So if it'll stabilize again or drop back down, who knows? But it seems like this is going to be quick movement, especially with the news I'm seeing here that the Pokemon centers are putting back stock out. But again, my one hesitation with that has to do with what I was showing you on eBay, the shrink wrap thing, and whether or not they are shrink wrapped or not affecting the price on those boxes. And obviously you want the shrink wrapped. Anyway, that's my little video here, kind of covering all the different movement. So hopefully, if you were investing, you were able to get in during this 3-day window. If you're holding, you're really holding out, right? I mean, you are really just waiting and waiting to see how low you can get, which is cool. That's fine. But tune it back here. We'll keep following this as we keep going. Have a nice day. Take care.